no money, that's an asshole. It wasn't a phase.
There we go.
Cool.
Hey, friends of the Senior Citizen Podcast. I am here with Ryan from Royal Hearts.
Hey, y'all.
Who has sat through an hour of technical difficulties. Thank you so much for being here, Ryan.
The difficulties were very technical. We can't even explain them.
I mean, minimum, when you're getting a podcast studio, they should at least give you a list of like, hey, bring this to make sure it works.
They did give us 4 walls and a table.
We're grateful. We're very grateful.
Very grateful.
How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing great. Woke up a little bit early, drove to Gainesville.
I really appreciate that you drove out here for us.
We drove 4 hours up to go see the Used tomorrow. That's going to be exciting.
The Used and Pierce the Veil.
Yeah.
But I will not be walking out after Pierce the Veil, how people have reportedly been doing.
Good for you.
Because you know that happened to me, and I mentioned this before at a Panic concert.
Yeah?
I went to go see Marina that was opening for Panic.
Okay.
So many people walked out from, like, what somebody who was working on a tour told me. Like, Marina would play, and, like, half the pit would leave.
I don't even know who Marina is.
You don't know Marina?
No.
Do you like poppy music?
Not really.
Okay, then you skip it.
Okay.
Anyways, Royal Hearts. How did it get started? You've been doing this shit for a while, dude.
Yeah, so we started at the end of, like, the very end of 2018. I responded to a Craigslist ad.
That's not sketchy.
No, we met at a rehearsal studio, so, like, well lit. You know, people were there. I didn't die, they didn't die. It was great. A few months later, we wrote some songs. We kind of finalized our lineup. We started playing shows early 2019. Recorded an EP by the end of that year. Planned on releasing it early 2020. But of course, with the pandemic, everything kind of got pushed. But we just kind of kept building and working on what we wanted to get done this entire time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's been a fun 4 years. And then, you know, halfway through, I moved halfway across the state.
Which was my next subject. How does band practice work if you're this many miles away?
Well, we had a very kind of serious conversation when I told them that I was moving, and it had to do with how we would continue to operate. And a lot of what we do collaboratively for songwriting is bouncing back and forth. But for rehearsal, the 3 of them get together every so often to just go over songs and tighten up the set. And it's really on me. It's my responsibility to make sure I'm on point. Being the vocalist, it does kind of make it a little bit easier because I do have access to all of the songs and all of our backing tracks, etc., to kind of rehearse with. And that's kind of how it goes.
Fair enough.
Don't recommend it for everybody.
It's like a long distance relationship.
It's like a very long distance relationship.
Do you ever just miss them?
Sometimes.
Okay.
No, I do. I mean, I definitely miss rehearsals, but it's not feasible to go down every week or every month, every so often, and especially with my full-time job. I can steal a day or two and drive down. I know in December I went down for a day and we did like a 4-hour, just all we did was rehearse. Like, I don't even think we talked to each other. We're just like, we're running through the songs. We got X amount of time. Let's go. Mm. We'll do that over the summer a couple times.
Well, you guys don't skip a beat. I went to go see you guys at the Saving Vice show.
That's right, you were there.
Yes, it was my first time seeing you guys.
As I said, that's when we met.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Well, I think we like already followed each other, and then at that show it was like,
I mean,
hi,
in
I'm this person.
I mean, in person.
Yeah. You got the shoulder shimmies down, and I've been like dying to ask about it. When you're
when I'm on stage.
Yes, when you're on stage, it's like you got the shoulder shimmies like tuned up perfectly to.
I don't know. I've been playing in bands since I was, 15, and I've just tried to figure out what's the most comfortable thing for me to do on stage. I tried doing like the very serious thing. I'm not a very serious looking guy. I tried doing the very tough guy thing. Not a very tough looking guy. I tried doing the very thoughtful and introspective thing. I just look silly.
What did thoughtful and introspective look like?
It's like the hands behind the back, right?
Uh-huh.
And giving a speech in between each song about some sort of issue.
Yeah.
None of those work for me. What works for me is having fun. And having fun for me on stage is dancing around and smiling and joking around with Mike behind the drums, or like putting my arms around Nelson, or like bumping into Javi and just having fun.
It really works for you. I mean, it's captivating. It made the set very fun for everybody involved, because if you're having fun, everybody else is having fun up there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I guess that's kind of been the common consensus is people have fun because we're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
And what other bands have you played with then since you've gone through all these phases?
So my first band I started with my brother back in 2005, and we just kind of kicked that can around for like 10 years as we kind of figured out how to play music and write songs. I played in a hardcore band in college, and I actually got kicked out of that band.
Oh, why?
They did not like the way my voice sounded in like my harsh vocals, my screaming. Like you're not good at it. And well, I spent a very long time working on it, and I've improved and improved, and I constantly just want to get better. But moving after that, in 2018, I started playing with Taylin, who you've met from Least. We were in Migrate together. Mm-hmm. That was their band prior to Least. We did an instrumental band for, I don't know, like 4 months. It did not work out. And currently I also play in like an alternative rock heavy band called Divide Inside. It's certainly much more like what you would see at like a Welcome to Rockville or like Listen to an Octane sort of sound. It's like Breaking Benjamin core.
That's its own genre.
It really
Breaking
is.
Benjamin core.
It really is. It really is. And if, you know, it really is.
Taylin is great. Glad to hear that you've played with them.
Taylin was like in my wedding party.
Oh, really?
I've known Tay for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. I love hearing these stories. Like Eastway, I'm like, how'd you guys meet? They're like, we've known each other since we were 4. And I'm like, I've never kept a friend that long. Never.
Yeah. No, I met Tay back in probably 2014, 2015. And yeah, we've just been friends since.
No, and they're super talented.
Yeah, and they were in my, like I said, my wedding party was my brother and Tay.
Aww.
And that was it.
It's nice to know that it was a very small wedding party too. And it was like, wow, that's small. That's my number one.
Yeah, very small.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. When you were practicing your vocals,
mm-hmm.
whenever anybody tells me that, in my head I automatically go to like an anime training arc, or you know, you get up and you do push-ups every day. Like how did you train your vocals?
Oh, like how did I learn how to do it? I just started yelling like really loud, and as I kept listening to music and tried to emulate the musicians that I wanted to, I guess, sound like, I started learning how to kind of get the sound I wanted. And then I would use like YouTube tutorial videos and read things online, and it would tell you, oh, like it's not supposed to feel this way, it's not supposed to sound this way. And that way I could try my best to teach myself how to scream without hurting my throat. I can do the entire set and I'm fine afterwards. But I don't know if I could teach somebody how to do it.
Right.
It's one of those things that I just learned. And I'm sure if I understood the science of it and the kind of like all of the anatomy of it, I could probably show some, like help some, but it was just trial and error. Again, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. God, I'm old.
Oh, geez. 20 years ago?
Yeah. Well, I'm 33 and I started when I was like 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. And it's funny to see how time has just flown, because I don't think of myself as old. I don't like to.
Well, you're not old. You're like 24.
25.
Oh, okay.
But either way, when you start off in the scene at such a young age, you're like, yeah, 10 years ago. And it's like, 10 years ago.
Oh, trust me. When I see show flyers and I see new bands pop up all the time and they're like bringing their high school friends to shows, I'm like, oh, God, I teach you guys. I teach 12th grade English. So like seeing high school kids at shows is like, oh, my God, did you guys do your homework before you went out?
Have any of your students ever been to one of your shows?
No.
You've never thought to just hang a flyer in the classroom?
Oh, I've maybe done that before, but no. Most of our shows are 18 or 21 and up.
Gotcha.
I'm kind of okay with them not coming to shows until after they've graduated. Mm-hmm. If they really want to, they're more than welcome to. It's very easy to find information on, myself, and kids these days. Everyone has a cell phone. They all know how to use Google. If they type in my last name, I'm sure they're going to find a credit to a Spotify song or something, and they can rabbit hole themselves into a venue at some point. But I'm never going to say, all right, kids, on Friday, I'm playing a rock and roll show, and I better see you there for extra credit, because that's unethical.
It's creepy.
It's very creepy.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine being a teacher in this day and age with kids having social media, how they do. And when they just find you or what, I mean, even.
It's strange.
Yeah.
It's strange. It's an odd thing, but instead of avoiding it, I just do my best to
You embrace it.
not embrace it, but make sure that any sort of version of me that exists online is appropriate.
Right. And I think that's something that everyone kind of just has to do at
Oh
this
yeah,
point.
I mean, figure it out for yourself. If your job is, in a more like professional oriented industry, then you should always make sure that you're putting that version of yourself out there. If your job is being, an entertainer, then just be entertaining everywhere. But I also teach children, so I need to make sure that the version of me that exists online is rated E for everyone.
Right. Now that I know that you and Taylin are good buddies, they're a teacher too.
Yes.
Is there a lot of teacher talk? Like,
Never.
oh, bro.
No.
No?
No. I actually avoid teacher talk.
Really?
I know this isn't like a music part of the podcast, but like at work, I give 100% of myself, like from the moment I get on campus to the moment I leave campus. And then when I leave campus, I'm not a teacher anymore. I at that point, I've shifted on to, being a husband to my wife. I've shifted on to bartending at the bar I work at. Or I've shifted to wearing all of the different hats that it takes to make Royal Hearts work and communicate with the guys and work on music. I don't have time to be a teacher at 7 p.m. I don't. It's so teacher talk outside of work that's not for me.
I love that because like mental health first. We can only do so much.
I drew a line in the sand after my first year teaching because I would be thinking about lesson plans at 10 o'clock at night. And then I realized that, you know what? It can wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow will always happen. So like, it's just going to wait till tomorrow.
It's funny. I adopted that mentality after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because when you find yourself working at home, I was allowed to work from home for like a 2-3 year period.
Course, yeah.
And it's like, I need to log off.
Yeah.
I cannot be on this computer.
You can't constantly be available.
Exactly. From 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And the same thing, like, let's circle it back over to like being a content creator, because I know you do the same thing as well with the podcast, and I know you also work for a media company, don't you?
I do. I work for a TV channel, and I do social media for them too. So I don't look at screen time because if I do, I'm just going to make myself sick.
Of course. But like one thing that we need to be able to do is understand what our limits are and then work within that limit. Almost kind of create like a mental contract for yourself and then just work your contract hours. If you're like, I know that I can do 1 hour a day, try to do 1 hour a day.
Exactly.
If you can do 8 hours a day, get a second job. Make more money.
Basically.
Have someone pay you to run their social media.
Or just have your hobbies and live a happy life, and not everything is work in this life.
That's true. I definitely make sure I try my best to keep our hobby time. Like no music, no teaching, no social media. It's hard because I always want to promote and continue to grow and continue to kind of get the band name out there, but like there are certain things where it's like I'm not posting this. I'm just gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. I find it funny that you say, well, not funny, but like interesting that you say hobby time and no music. Is music not something that you would consider a hobby?
It is.
Aside from the band.
It is. Outside of the band, like I do write on my own. I do a little bit of like session work for people in terms of like helping them write. But like when my wife and I are doing something, like we love going to sporting events. Mm-hmm. There's no music at a sporting event. So why I shouldn't be texting somebody about a song, a show, a flyer, or such. Like those 3 or 4 hours, that's that time for me spending time with my wife doing that particular activity. But no, music is I mean, I guess it's a hobby in the sense that I'm not a professional. I'm not getting paid a salary or I'm getting paid hourly. But
that should change.
It should change, but I definitely approach music as something more than a hobby. Mm-hmm. I don't think of it as like a job in like a bad way, but I put a lot of effort into it, and people put a lot of effort into their hobbies too. But I have goals and dreams with the music stuff. So I guess in my brain, I don't consider it a hobby anymore because I invest so much time into it.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned those goals and dreams. What are they for you? Because it's different for everybody.
Personally, I want to be able to play music until I physically am unable to do so. So ideally for the next, 50 to 60 years. Career-wise, it would be great to have a career out of music, but I would be fine with just being able to continue to kind of have constant growth. Even if it's one person a day. It doesn't need to be 1 million followers. It doesn't need to be 10,000 followers. But if one more person every day or every week finds it and connects with something there, my goal is to just keep growing and growing and growing. And if I do that over 20 or 30 or 40 years, by the time I'm done, I can look back and be like, wow, I shared this journey with all of these people. Now, of course, there's the cliche ones. I want to get signed. I want to go on a world tour. I want to have 1 million Spotify streams. Of course, not of course, but like I do want those things. That's not the end all be all for me.
Right, like it's cool, but it's not the most important part.
Hey, if we could make the kind of living playing music to where I didn't have to work a full-time job, and again, that would have to be a substantial amount of money because I do have a salary position. I am a teacher. It's not a lot of money, but it's certainly a lot more than you make off of 0.003 cents a stream. I would definitely do that.
So you're an English teacher.
Mm-hmm.
When, obviously you like writing. Because you write your own songs and everything. When did you start writing? Was it one of those things that like, even as a little kid, you would always find yourself writing like little poems and stuff?
I did. Back in elementary school. I got very lucky in my, I guess, throughout school, throughout primary, secondary school. I had a lot of really good teachers that instilled a lot of critical thinking and creativity. And I think I started writing, like, again, I was 8 years old. So they were terrible. But, I was 8 and I was like writing poetry. And it just kept going from there. And as I got into my preteens, my cousin had moved in with us, and he listened to a lot of music from the 80s and the 90s, a lot of hardcore, a lot of different things, and he started showing us that music. So I was listening to bands like AFI when I was 9 years old, back in 1999, 10 years old. So I started hearing this music, and I was like, wow, a lot of this is very, like, it's like poetry, but, like, with music. So I just was like, okay, I kept writing and writing and writing. A few years later, I started learning how to play the drums. I started learning how to play the bass. And, my brother started learning how to play the guitar. But it really started as a kid in elementary school, like with writing.
Mm-hmm. And did learning to play those instruments come easy to you? Did you have an ear for it, or was it a struggle?
I guess it depends. My brother and I both were in like a choir as kids. And then he pivoted and started learning piano. He took piano lessons, and my parents signed me up for piano lessons. And I took about 15 minutes of one piano lesson, said, nope, this ain't for me. And I never learned how to play the piano. But I did want to learn how to play the drums because the drums were loud. And the drums, you got to hit them. So they bought me a drum set. I was maybe 13 or 14. And I never got very good as a drummer, but it gave me an understanding of rhythm and percussion and things like tempo, which in turn like helped me learn other instruments. I learned the bass guitar next because I just happened to like Rush, and I was like, Geddy Lee's a bass player and he doesn't have friends and neither do I, so I'm gonna learn how to play bass just like him. I'm pretty sure he has friends though. So eventually I learned how to play guitar, but that wasn't until I was like 20.
Okay.
I just didn't want to play guitar for the longest. It's like, I don't want to play guitar. Because then all I'm ever going to be able to do is play guitar in bands.
So your reason for wanting to play the drums is
because they're very loud.
Yeah, that's the exact reason why I would like never want to play the drums.
Oh, no. It was being able to just smack them.
There's something so inherent about me that it's like, I don't want to take up space or be loud. Yeah. It's weird. It's
weird.
That's
probably why I was so... But that's also probably why I was not very good at them, right? Because I didn't want to learn the technique. I just wanted to make drum go boom, right? Like, I can do basic things. Like, if someone needs to do, like, a boom, boom, sh, boom, boom, I could do that.
Right.
I could do a little bit more than that. But, like, the songs that we have, like, I can't play most of what, like...
Well, like, even when you were on stage, you took some drumsticks and were hitting them along with your drummer.
That's the extent. That's the extent. No, I mean, I could play some of our songs, probably, but I don't think I've played a drum kit, I don't know, like 10 years.
Right.
But I know enough about drums, though.
No, while you're up there, stuff. You're having fun and drums go boom.
Drums go boom. I make drum go boom. That's exactly it.
The guitar thing, I
Yeah.
feel like that's the equivalent. So I played in my high school orchestra, and
Okay.
I played the viola. There was like 4 of us.
Okay.
The rest, everybody was playing violin.
Of
I feel
course.
like it's that same relation. Like, why would I want to play the violin when that's what everybody else does
Yeah,
with the guitar?
everyone learns how to play. They're like, I learned how to play Smells Like Teen Spirit when I was 12 years old. And here I am thinking, I don't think I don't know how to play like any cover songs on guitar. I
need you to learn Wonderwall, please.
I have so like been so strongly like against learning to play covers. Not because I think covers are dumb. My brother's in a cover band. He has a great time. I've seen them play. They're awesome, you know. But like I haven't gotten to that point yet where I'm like, that's what I want to do with my time. But it's coming. It's going to happen, I'm sure, as I get older and older and older.
It's coming sooner than you think.
Probably. No, so I just, I don't know how to play a lot of songs on like I'll learn a song to record. Like,
Right.
But then I'll forget it.
Right. And you at your show did a cover, if I'm not mistaken, you did a cover of Mice and Men.
Yes.
Sebring.
So we actually have been covering Second and Sebring for probably way too long. But it's fun to play.
I mean, it's a
fun to
timeless
play.
song.
It's fun to play, and it gives us a chance to have, like, our friends jump on stage with us. Like, we've had Joey from Vitalis. Taylon's been on stage with us. We've had our friend Zach from Capture in the Rye from Orlando. He's jumped on stage with us. Even Tyler from Saving Vice jumped on stage at that show.
Yeah.
So doing a song, doing a cover, some people are like, oh, that's taboo, or that's not taboo, cliche. Or it's hokey, or it's corny, or whatever it is. I'm trying to have fun, man. If you don't like it, like,
I think
buy a shirt and leave.
I think that's a great shirt. I would buy that shirt and just leave, by the way. We'll show it off later. But I think it all dials back to, and what the show is about and why I started it, that it's the nostalgia. Yeah. Like, back in the day, I was a scene kid. Yeah. I listened to Mice and Men, and, well, Mice and Men isn't even, like, cringy, so to speak. I used to listen to some cringy shit.
Oh, yeah. Like impact font, bad words on the t-shirt sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's something that, like, with the nostalgia, you remember that time fondly.
Of course.
So when you hear a band covering of Mice and Men at a show like that, everybody gets so hyped.
It's so weird, though, because of Mice and Men was, like, just past my, like, heavy phase. Like, I had just kind of moved on from it.
Right.
Because that was, like, 2010, 2011. At that point, I was, like, 21, 22. So, I know you were like 8.
No.
But
that's how your English teacher's showing.
Yeah.
Not the math.
Not the math. Not a math part. I had just kind of like, I'd already kind of cemented like what I like to listen to. That Second and Sebring is the only of Mice and Men song I know. Please don't tell them.
Really?
And I didn't know more than like 5 words until we started covering it. And I think the first time we ever played it live, I probably still only knew about 6 words.
That's why you called Joey up to sing.
That's why I get the other people up on stage, because I only have to learn half of the song. It's just how to be as efficient as possible.
Well, you say you've been playing that cover for a little too long.
Oh no, I know the words. We've been playing it for a while, and we put out our version. We put out a studio version of it last year.
Yeah, and I heard it on Spotify actually. So there was my .0003.
Yeah, there was my little drop in the bucket from the Senior Citizen podcast.
No, I'm kidding. I've been listening to Structures. It is a dope song.
Well, thank you.
It's very good. What was the songwriting process like for Structures? Now that I mentioned it.
So when the pandemic hit. I know this is like, why are you talking about something from 2.5 years ago? When the pandemic hit and I had all this extra free time, obviously we weren't going out, I kind of challenged myself to write a song a week. And basically the goal was just to see what ideas I could have. Not like, hey, can I write a song to release every week, but can I start something from beginning to end every week? And each song would kind of be based on a certain idea or concept or riff or whatever, feeling. And at the end, I guess I started writing Structures probably the tail end of last year, beginning of this year. I wanted to write a song that really focused on one singular riff, like one singular idea that kind of went through different phases throughout the song. So that's kind of what you can hear in the song, like with that opening riff, right after the intro cuts out. the majority of that song is based on that one thing, and I wrote it to be very structured. So the working title for the song was Structures, because I just wrote very structured pieces, at least in my brain, right?
Okay.
So then when it came to finishing the song like lyrically, I was like, we're going to keep that same idea of what it's like to kind of be confined to a box or be some sort of foundation. And that's what the song is about. It's like how we're all like these houses or these structures, right? And that we fill them with whatever we want to fill them with, right? Some people fill them with families, some fill them with their careers, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, we're just like these boxes.
I feel, from what you just told me, that your songwriting process is everything that I like imagine a band like La Dispute, like what their songwriting process would be.
I don't know. I don't know what their songwriting process
No,
is.
and I'm sure it's different for everybody, but that kind of curation and care that goes into it, like La Dispute is very much storytelling.
Yeah.
Like it takes you from beginning to end.
Yeah.
But I feel like that same kind of care and love goes into it.
I would say a lot of our songs though, I guess similar, because La Disputes, I mean, they're certainly more like of that emotionally sort of charged sort of music.
Yeah.
And I know that we're technically like a metalcore band, right? But I think a lot of our songs, at least when my input is taken in, it comes from a place of like the emo scene, right? Like 2000, like the scene emo scene, like the mall emo scene. Please don't hit me with the whole real emo consists of copy pasta. I'm telling you right now, when I say emo, I'm specifically referring to like 98 to 2010. Like we're talking about hot topic emo music, scene music, screamo music. I don't care what a gatekeeper calls it. That's what I like, and that's kind of where my influence comes from.
We don't gatekeep on this show. Emo's whatever it was to you.
Yeah.
2010, I was still not in the mall scene.
There you go.
But I damn well had a mall scene when Hot Topic started to get like, not as great.
Neon and well lit.
No, it was before the neon, but after the trip pants.
I had a pair of trip pants.
I wish I had a pair of trip pants because they just look comfy.
Yeah, they were not.
Really?
No, they were like paper thin garbage. You did not want a pair. And they had the chains on them that were basically plastic, and they'd stick into your legs. Like, oh God, why did I buy these? Oh, I look cool.
I no longer have trip pant FOMO.
There you go. But other songs come together different ways. Sometimes Mike and Nelson will kind of like send me something that they were jamming when they were rehearsing one day, and we'll kind of work from there. So like when we did I Might Be Dead, which came out last year, that's how that one came about. They sent me kind of about 2 or so minutes of them just jamming, and I listened back to it, and I found pieces that I liked, and I re-recorded all of them just off of an iPhone recording that they sent me. So it's like a lot of critical listening and trying to figure out what they are doing or what they are trying to get done, because it's very loose the way they kind of riff off each other and send stuff up. So sometimes it's very like me-centric, where I kind of create a skeleton and send it to them, and sometimes it's like they send me some ideas and then we shape them together. Okay,
so there's no set like process.
No.
I'm gonna sit and write.
No, now. I mean I do always sit and write, but not everything gets sent down. Like some things I'll write a song like, oh, this is definitely not something for Royal Hearts. This is something just for fun. Do you show your writings to your wife? Sometimes. Okay. Sometimes. She definitely likes a different style of music than what I create. Okay. She likes more, I don't want to say traditional rock and roll, because then that sounds like I'm saying all she listens to is like AC/DC and Kiss, but she doesn't like either of those bands. She definitely likes kind of like the grunge, post-grunge, American rock sort of sound. So like she really enjoys bands like Foo Fighters. That's your grunge, post-grunge-ish type sound. Okay. The Gaslight Anthem is one of her favorite bands. We actually were just down in Fort Lauderdale 2 weeks ago to see them. We drove all the way down just for a show. It was a great time. And then we've traveled to see like the Red Hot Chili Peppers a few times. Oh, that must have been fun. So those are her 3 favorite bands, and we've seen all 3 of them, but they are very different than what like my 3 favorite bands are. Right. So I don't show her everything I write. No, because for me, I mean, even as I did my master's last year, and I would have to write some paper. Thank you. Yeah. I would have to write some papers, and my boyfriend is the kind of person that's always like, send it to me. I'll check it. I'll check for errors. Mm-hmm. And I'm like terrified. Like, oh, don't look at my work. Yeah, please don't see the mistakes I have made.
And he'll find the weirdest mistakes in there too. So thank God he's around, and there's
Yeah.
enough trust there for
Of
me to be
course.
like, oh God, just don't judge me. But
Of course.
yeah, that's where that question was rooted from.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to give out a last shout out to Royal Hearts. What's coming next? This is your shameless plug moment.
Yeah. So up next, I don't know when this episode is coming out, so I don't know.
I don't know either right now. It's a couple weeks.
Okay, so I know that we are going to be doing 3 shows in June, so it's going to be June 8, 9, and 10. So either it's coming up or you just missed it.
Probably missed it,
but that's okay. But we're going to be in Orlando, Ocala, and Tampa, but in reverse order. So June 8th, we're in Tampa, then it goes Ocala, then it goes Orlando. We are going to be back in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to be in West Palm at the beginning of July. July 1st. Hopefully this is announced by then. If not, then you're hearing it from me first. We are going to be doing a cover set for a like Warped Tour style cover show at Respectable Street. I'm not going to say the band that we're covering. So hopefully I don't ruin everything. Then we're back in Orlando July 7th, and we're working on stuff for the rest of the year. We have a few new songs that are done that we're working on getting the promo ready for, but we have a lot of stuff planned. I want to thank you for your time, and I know that you have an exciting weekend, extended weekend, going to see a concert tomorrow.
Pierce a Veil.
And The Used, who is ultimately the better of the two bands.
I'd like to differ, but we're different generations at this point as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, we're very different generations.
Everybody needs to go follow Royal Hearts in case you missed those show dates so you can catch the next ones, and make sure to keep following and listening to the Senior Citizen Podcast.
Thank you.